He asks, "You talk about infusing intelligent people with religion. Could you elaborate a bit on this?"
What I pointed out is that historically, if you look at the great geniuses of the 19th century, one thing they seem to have in common is religious faith. A lot of these people were not atheists. They were not just religious, they believed that scientific research was a form of revelation. They called it neo-Thomism. So, the idea is that engaging in scientific work, discovering truth, placing a premium on truth, this was all divinely ordained essentially. And this was a motive complex which kept them very truthful, kept them very dedicated, kept them aligned with objective truth. It also allowed them to move into areas which were socially taboo, fully cognizant of the fact that in so doing, they were doing God's work. This was an act of revelation, and if things had to change, if this finding challenged some preconceived notion, then so be it. To do otherwise, to suppress, that was bad. And this was a very powerful way of protecting yourself against heterodoxy, and also imbuing your life with an existential purpose, a life of purposefulness, and a drive towards scientific inquiry. So if you could put that back into modern scientists, and Charles Murray, who was the first to propose this thesis in a book published in 2003 called Human Accomplishment. He argues that one of the transitions that's taken place is that these religious values have basically gone, they've evaporated, and they've been replaced with Freudian, Freudo-Marxist, nihilist, relativist type value systems instead, which do not place a premium on truth and see truth as being something that's expedient and plays into power dynamics. And on that basis, Murray argues that this has handicapped the innovativeness of scientists because they're not able to pursue truth, that they don't existentially value it, they don't place a premium on it. And if they substitute truth for politically expedient lies, and there are many instances of scientific research where politically expedient lies dominate, then they do anti-truth. They're coming to conclusions which are in opposition to truth, and that handicap science even further. And that was Murray's theory. So, one possibility is, yes, by making scientists more religious, by making them more godly or spiritual, maybe you could actually make them better scientists, in the same way that the Victorians' polymathic geniuses, who were all deeply devoutly religious and Thomistic, were very good scientists.
Yes, something I've been thinking about a lot recently is the exclusion of us in academia and the data sets we can't get hold of. But the Victorian University, until about 1871, when they tried to change it, didn't really do that much in the way of research. Research was done by gentlemen's scholars, by interested working-class amateurs like Thomas Edward the Aberdeen shoemaker, by people with patrons and by scholar rectors.
Michael Faraday, for example.
Exactly. There wasn't much in the way of actual people doing research at universities because the university was just basically in the hands of the church, and it was about educating vicars and lawyers and to a lesser extent doctors, but it was really about promoting the ideology of society, and that was basically religion and monarchy. And it was only in 1871 that they got rid of a system where in order to be a fellow, in order to work at the university, you had to be ordained to do that. You had prep school headmasters that would do research and public school headmasters that would do research. There wasn't anything going on at the universities. And I think that in some respects, we're going to move back to that. We are moving back to that.
I hope so. It would certainly be a more convivial arrangement.
With certain areas of research, the university has become, to a certain extent, particularly in social science and humanities, a body whose purpose is to promote what used to be Christianity, and now it's the religion of multiculturalism. Mercier-Eliade looked at this, that left-wing ideologies have some significant points of commonality with Christianity in a lot of ways. The guilt and the shame and all this sort of thing, and the worshipping of those who are perceived as disempowered and all this, the anti-Nietzschean system.
That would be victimhood morality, the idea that your nobility is in your victimhood.